Welcome to This Explainer. You know, right now, we're literally living in the middle of an unprecedented boom. It's a massive gold rush in the creator economy. We're talking about an explosive era of coaching, consulting, and online courses where fortunes are being made daily. But what actually separates the people who are just making noise from those who are building highly profitable, lasting empires? Well, the answer lies in hidden knowledge. Today, we're unpacking Russell Brunson's absolutely groundbreaking manual, Expert Secrets. And look, this isn't just another marketing book. It is a literal blueprint for taking your passion, your hobby, or your hard-earned lived experience and transforming it into a mass movement. We're going to uncover how hidden knowledge, when packaged with absolute precision, becomes a deeply profitable business that actually changes the course of people's lives. So let me just ask you straight up, what is your expert secret? Seriously, whether your absolute passion is teaching yoga, mastering digital marketing, designing fitness routines, or perfecting culinary arts, you possess a hidden gift. Now, you might be feeling a little touch of imposter syndrome right now, and that's totally normal, but here is the truth. You do not need a PhD. You don't need a wall of degrees or decades of corporate backing to have an expert secret. You just need lived experience. The source material emphasizes that every single person has a specific skill, maybe an obstacle they've overcome, or a piece of knowledge that has the power to change someone else's life. It's this exact secret that becomes the bedrock of an empire, allowing you to monetize your true passion in ways you probably never even imagined. Okay, let's dive into this first section, sparking a mass movement. Because having a secret is really just the starting line. To truly monetize your expertise, you can't just exist in the market, you have to lead it. Russell Brunson outlines a foundational framework for stepping out of the shadows and sparking a genuine mass movement. And to build this movement, there are three absolute main pillars. First up, the charismatic leader. That's you. People connect deeply with your personality, not just some faceless product. And here's the reassurance you probably need. Leadership is about guidance. It's not about perfection. You simply need to be one step ahead of your audience to guide them out of the woods. Second, the cause. You've got to give your people a compelling new direction, a fresh and exciting path to walk down together. And third, the new opportunity. This is the vehicle, your product or service, that actually transports them to their ultimate goals, showing them a whole new world where their problems are entirely solved. Now, this brilliantly illustrates the distinction between an amateur business and a movement-building empire, and it all comes down to the offer. People are genuinely just not interested in a boring improvement offer. Psychologically, think about it. If you tell someone, hey, I can help your old business grow by 10%, you immediately create resistance. An improvement offer subconsciously implies that they're currently doing something wrong and that they need to work harder at a miserable process they already hate. They're going to tune out. But if you offer them a completely new opportunity, like starting a brand new, highly profitable online funnel business, you offer them a clean slate. You capture their imagination. They desperately want a new path that completely erases their pain points, not a slight, painful upgrade to the path they're already failing on. All right, moving on to our next major concept, the Epiphany Bridge. It really comes down to this profound truth. Humans buy with emotion and they justify it later with logic. Once you have your new opportunity, how do you actually get people to believe in it deeply enough to follow you? You simply can't convince people to hand over their trust or their hard-earned money using just facts and figures. Logic literally fails to persuade on its own. You have to hit their emotions first. Storytelling is the ultimate psychological tool for this. The source material notes that sharing your personal narrative of struggle and success is what truly seals the deal. Because if you strike the right emotional chord, the audience's brain will automatically find the logic to justify the purchase later. So, how do we effectively cross this emotional bridge? Well, we guide our audience through a shared cinematic experience called the Epiphany Journey. First, you openly share your personal struggle, and this requires absolute vulnerability. You have to show them your scars, letting them know you truly understand their current pain because, well, you lived it. Second, you share the exact transformative moment you discovered your solution, your new opportunity. When you craft this story effectively, you trigger the exact same aha moment in your listener's mind that you originally had in yours. By the time you finish the narrative, they aren't just passively listening anymore. They're emotionally invested and fully committed to purchasing your solution because they've experienced the revelation right alongside you. Now we get to the really fun stuff. Section 3, the perfect webinar blueprint. Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how we move from deep connection directly into mass conversion. You have your movement, you have your story, but how do you sell it at scale? This is the anatomy of a massive sales driver broken into 4 strategic parts. First, the introduction, where you immediately build undeniable credibility and hook their attention right out of the gate. Second, the one thing, your main domino message. Third, the 3 secrets, where you systematically shatter their mental objections using targeted stories. And finally, the stack and pitch, where you present an utterly irresistible offer. This structure works so incredibly well because it acts as a psychological funnel. It takes a total stranger, breaks down every single reason they have to say no, and turns them into a high-paying customer within a single presentation. And the beating heart of that entire presentation is what Brunson calls the one thing, or the domino effect. Ask yourself right now, what is the one thing your audience absolutely needs to believe? Your main message has to be laser-focused on convincing them that your new opportunity is the one and only viable solution to their deepest problem. Because if you can make them truly believe in this single massive domino, it knocks down everything else. All their other doubts, fears, and objections will naturally collapse. You aren't pitching 100 different features here. You're selling the absolute, unwavering certainty of this one transformative concept. But of course, human nature dictates that your audience is still going to have mental roadblocks. You have to strategically dismantle these using stories that prove 3 distinct secrets. First, the vehicle. You got to prove this new method actually works in the real world. Second, the internal belief. They're silently wondering, am I personally capable of doing this? Your story has to definitively prove that they are. And third, the external belief. Do I have the time, the money, or the resources to pull this off? You must relentlessly fire off stories that break down these 3 specific walls, leaving your audience with absolutely 0 excuses and pure belief. And once those mental objections are completely shattered, you move to the final decisive strike, the stack and pitch. This is way more than just revealing a price tag. You are presenting your offer by systematically stacking every single benefit, every module, and every incredible bonus on top of each other to create this towering mountain of value. Psychologically, what you're doing is overwhelming the logical brain with so much undeniable value that the emotional brain just takes over completely. You skyrocket the perceived value so incredibly high that when you finally drop your actual irresistible price, it feels like an absolute no-brainer. They literally feel like walking away would be the biggest mistake of their lives.
Which leads us beautifully into our final section, building your loyal tribe.
Because, you see, Expert Secrets isn't just a tactical marketing manual. It's about building a lasting, world-changing legacy. To be a truly successful expert, you have to shift your focus entirely from pure sales to building a fiercely loyal community. You're not just acquiring customers, you are building your tribe. To do this, you have to give your followers a unique identity. Think about Apple fans, right? They don't just buy phones, they identify as a completely different special group of creatives and innovators. Your followers need to feel that exact same way. You've got to give them a shared identity and, crucially, a common enemy to fight against. And that enemy doesn't even have to be a person. It could be the outdated mainstream way of doing things, like that miserable improvement offer we talked about earlier. When people feel they belong to an exclusive group, fighting for a shared, righteous cause, their loyalty becomes absolute. Which brings us to the ultimate question to wrap up this explainer. You've got the blueprint now. You know exactly how to create a mass movement, tell a vulnerable epiphany story, structure an unbeatable presentation, and build a fiercely loyal tribe. So, will you share your voice? Or will you let your secret just fade away? You have the sheer power to step up as a leader, build a highly profitable business, and literally change the world with your hidden knowledge. The choice is entirely yours.